Welcome, whoever is, oh, we have some participants. We have
12.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome, everybody. So Anna and I are going to get started right now. I know we have a busy schedule and y'all need to go on to other sessions after this, or maybe it's even going to be lunchtime. But Anna and I are here coming to you from Tucson, Arizona, and our focus, our passion is student voice through participatory multimedia. I'll introduce myself. I'm Laura Porfirio. I work for Creative Narrations, but before that, I spent about 28 years of my life in the field of adult ed here in Tucson. And I am super excited to be here. I've been involved with COABE since like 2010 or even before that. And I love focusing on students as leaders and elevating student voices, amplifying them, helping students be leaders in their classrooms and communities. And Anna, I hope they can hear you too. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello there, my name is Ana Bedoya Hernandez. I am an adult student, learner, and now a presenter in this wonderful session. Yeah, that's me.
All right. You're going to find out a little more about Anna because we are going to show a digital story that she produced with Creative Narrations here in Tucson. Yeah, please feel free to, if you can, join us through the Zoom chat and maybe through the Hoover app chat. I'm not sure if Anna's been able to get at that, but we are going to go ahead and present some information that we hope will be useful to you and inspiring to you, working with adult learners and helping them develop their voices and amplify them. So I'm going to frame it out a little more completely in a minute, but we're going to talk about storytelling and participatory multimedia and the role that that can play in adult education. I'll go through the digital storytelling production process, just so you know how what these movies are made. There's 4 parts to a digital storytelling process. You prepare, writing your story, you produce, creating a multimedia product, a production from your story using your voice and your photos. Then you publish it, you finish it, and you export it, and you can share it by email or social media. Show it, we show it in classrooms, we show them in orientations and presentations, and promoting it, our students' voices, our students' stories is, really ties into student leadership through COA with advocacy and all of that. We'll have a little bit of time to think and share about digital stories and how to use them in the classroom and beyond. And we are gonna, in the app, you have materials, you have the PowerPoint, and you have a handout with lots of links and resources and tools that you can use in your classroom. All right. So for me, for us here in Tucson at Pima College, we started doing digital storytelling with students in like the year 2002 or 3. And the reason we did that is because we realized it was a fantastic project learning experience for students that were, learning English or getting their GEDs and starting to like use computers in the classroom and a lot of that ed tech. Our ed tech journey with digital storytelling started a long time ago, but we realized that we could have a win-win-win-win situation with students, in their basic skills of reading and writing and speaking and listening, using technology to make movies from their stories, get tools in their hands, including mice and stuff like that and software. And in that way, we feel like it was relevant to the students. We tackled issues that were important to students. Of course, they integrated their ideas and their issues and their concerns into their stories and then crafted messages for other people to hear. It really builds skills in so many different literacies. literacy is the knowledge and skills needed to do all those things like access information and evaluate it and make meaning and express your thoughts and interact with others. But for us, digital storytelling is really a lot about digital literacy, the technology skills, media literacy, becoming a producer of multimedia productions is a really powerful way to become a better consumer of media. As we know, we're all at the fire hose all the time with media and information coming at us. When we take the time to produce our own media, it really teaches us a lot about being better consumers. So that is why we're here. And that is why hopefully the stuff we show you today and share is going to tie right back into that. But first, we're going to watch a movie that Anna made. And I'm very excited to share her story. We are going to, let me get it lined up right. So I'll let Anna talk about it a little afterwards, either in the chat or she can unmute, but I'm just going to show her movie. And I want you to think about those aspects that I already mentioned of the literacies. Okay. Oops. That.
In December 2019, Mom arrived from Colombia to
Excuse me, Laura, we can't hear it. There is no sound. You're muted.
You did hear it before, right? When I tested it earlier?
Maybe don't mute yourself,
Okay.
because we can hear at the beginning, but no.
Oh, okay. I'm going to turn up the volume and I'm going to not unmute myself. Maybe that helps. Okay, thank you. Here we go.
In December 2019, Mom arrived from Colombia to spend the next 90 days with us. We were over the moon, especially my son. We had a great time doing Christmas decoration. Christmas was my mom's favorite time of the year. 2 weeks later, very early on Christmas morning, my mom knocked on my door. She was in tears saying, "My mom passed away. My mom passed away." Wait, what? How? Why? We just spoke with Grandma a few hours ago. My reaction was to comfort my mom. She had just lost her mom. She was 2,918 miles away from home. She was in so much pain. I think I immediately turned her into my little girl. She cried on my lap. We fell asleep together, hugging each other. But this time was different. For the first time in my life, I was her safe place. Time flies and grief is hard. COVID is a pandemic now. My husband is a health worker. He is at high risk. We are at high risk. And panic. I have anxiety thinking about the COVID situation in Colombia, the COVID situation here. It's almost time for Mom to get back home. I don't want her to leave. I am her safe place now. Like a miracle, a week before her departure, COVID hit hard. Airports in Colombia shut down. My mom has to stay. I'm glad. I'm very happy. But I also feel guilty about feeling this way because I know thousands of people are dying every day around the world. I know people need to travel, but I am just happy. My mom has to stay here with us, with me. I am her safe place now. In 2020, I saw my mom having a great time, especially sharing with my son, playing with cars, playing tag, police and robbers, cooking, swimming. Wait, what? Is she playing? Is she every day in a pool with him? She never got into a pool with me. I love swimming, and she never swam with me when I was little. But she is doing it with my son. This is a very happy moment. Mom ended up staying 347 days with us. Thanks to the universe, thanks to COVID for giving us this time together, sharing, healing, playing like we could not when I was little, because she was a single mom working multiple jobs, tired, exhausted, stressed, and she had no time to play with me. Thanks for playing in the pool with my son, Mom.
Thank you, Anna, for sharing your story.
I kind of cry every time I saw it.
Anna, I helped you make that movie a few years ago, and I've seen it I don't know how many times, and it gets me every time. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm hoping that people who could hopefully hear her voice and see her images will put a little comment in the chat about, how her story was relatable. Can you relate to her story? And if there's any one moment or word or picture that is going to stick with you in your mind, for us, that is the power of storytelling. When people share stories, they connect to each other, they relate to each other, it builds community, it empowers people, it inspires people. And I'm just curious about what Anna's story is doing for you. And Anna, I'll let you interrupt. I'm going to keep going, but if there's something in the chat, that a question or something that really needs to be shared, hopefully everybody can see everybody else's comments. But
yeah, we do have some comments in the chat. Maria Monge say I cried too. Eliana Stanislawski, I think it's her last name, say, I love your story, Anna. It was so moving, especially the complicated feelings you expressed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So now I want to talk a little bit about why storytelling is important. And please do put something in the chat, and I'll have Anna read those out. You can see from the images is that, people are gathering together, their voices are amplified, even sometimes with a microphone, intergenerational. It's important even in the classroom. You can see right there, people are sharing. Any comments from the chat about why storytelling is important?
We have not.
Oh, okay, that's okay.
Oh, yes. They have a question for me. What was the hardest part? Reading, storyboarding, or finding images? So the harder part for me was writing the story and all the memories and stuff, plus the editing part, making like in 3 minutes, story in 3 minutes, all my feelings fit in 3 minutes. So it was a lot of editing and very, very therapeutic. Yes. it was like a healing process for me, and that group for everybody. We can feel the healing in every story, the passion, the yes, it was a lot of feelings involved in that.
Uh,
um
but that's the power of storytelling, because when I relate to your story, it heals me too, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
you can relate it is and keep in mind that every story is unique, but a lot of people can relate it with it.
Exactly. So when we do storytelling in classrooms, I mean, it really is amazing when you start hearing your students' voices and their stories, you realize what's important to them, what issues are important, and then you can pull that into the curriculum, and even maybe inspire some action. It's a really safe way to challenge assumptions. When I hear somebody else's story and I relate to them, they might have a different opinion than me, and it might help me think critically about my own perspectives and broaden my perspective. We can start conversations, we build connections, all of that. So, digital storytelling in education, it is project-based, like I said. It's context-driven. It's really relevant, based in the lives of our students. It's engaging because all different kinds of learning styles and strengths can come out. And so it's just good for a very diverse, broad range of learners and teachers. It's always collaborative. The art of digital storytelling, the beauty of it is that it's not one person with their one little telephone making a little multimedia something and sharing it on social media. It's always created in community. And as Anna said, it was really challenging to write her script, but in the collective, in the classroom, you have that mutual support.
Also,
So,
can I say
yeah,
something?
please.
Sorry to interrupt. It was another really hard part for me was the narration, to listening my voice and pronunciation. As an English learner, it was it was a very hard process, and but I enjoying the result. My movie and all my classmates' movies were wonderful, and you see the effort, the time spent on every story. It was great. It was so helpful, and as an English learner, it was a really great exercise.
I'm so glad you said that, Anna, because that last one, it's challenging. Our students, they want to be challenged. They need to be challenged, even if they don't realize it when they're going in. But once you have, if you are trying to overcome a challenge and you are supported and given the tools and giving the space, the safe space to like try something that you're afraid of, like, oh, I don't want people to hear my voice. I have a really thick accent. Imagine getting over that fear and that challenge by making a movie. Oh my God. Anyways, thank you, Anna. Okay, so digital stories, they're always personal. They're always told from the first person perspective. That's the most powerful way. If you're telling somebody else's story, it doesn't come off as authentic and as powerful. It's multimedia, so that's like ed tech galore. You're combining your recording your voice and collecting the images and editing a video and using music and effects. It's really awesome. But I will say that adult ed in with digital storytelling, always resourceful. We use whatever we have in front of us, a telephone, a smartphone, a scanner, a digital camera, a piece of paper and pencil. Sometimes that's all it really takes, but we use whatever we can. We don't have fancy equipment and we don't have fancy editing software. We have free online web-based video editing software, and you'll hear about that, and it's in the resources. But like I said, it's also created in community. So as I said earlier, um, everybody needs to choose a story, and there's sample prompts in your materials. Everybody writes a script, Everybody records their voice. You can do it with your smartphone. You can do it with your built-in mic on your laptop, or you can get a fancy mic like the one in the picture. Easy now to grab, photos off of your phone and upload them into the software. And then the software is very user-friendly. You just edit it together and then share in the classroom. Now, I want to make sure we show Mireya's story as well. And what I want you to think about right now with Mireya's story and the script, let me go ahead and get into this. Oops. I want to, okay, make sure I'm showing the right screen. You can see that I don't want to break it.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. Okay, this website, Stories for Change, is listed in your materials, and it's a website that we made for adult educators, and there are a lot of alumni from adult ed in this group that made movies. And for each and every story, we have a synopsis, we have a quote, we have the movie, and then there's discussion questions and other materials to go with it, including the script. And I actually put the script in the handout materials that you have access on the app. So if you have you don't have to follow along, but just know that on this particular website, every movie has the actual script so that if you're working with language learners, maybe they want to be able to follow along and read as they listen to her story. But let's listen to Mireya. She is a longtime colleague and friend of mine from adult ed in Tucson, and she was actually in the program called Adult Vocational Training Project in Tucson, Arizona in the early 90s, a long time ago, but she's been working for adult ed ever since. And let's hear her story.
I said, Kathy, I'm sorry. I need your help. What an irony. 20 years ago, I helped students learn pre-computer basics one-on-one. During these sessions, some fearful students said, I don't want to break the computer. Fast forward to 2020, I don't have family here. I live alone, but I am not lonely. When COVID-19 hit suddenly, Pima College lent us laptops to work from home. But at home, I did not have internet access. I contacted Cox. I asked Cox to help me connect my equipment because I didn't want to break it. Cox refused to help me. They said that they couldn't come to my house because of COVID. It was because of COVID that I needed them. I felt frustrated, hopeless, angry. I felt like a victim. I was even ashamed to ask for help from PCC staff. I was supposed to be the computer teacher, and now look at me. My childhood trauma was kicking in. All messages started to kick in my head. You should know this. You're not smart. But then I realized that I was not a true victim. I was just being victimized by my own thoughts and history. The pandemic exposed more injustices and trauma for so many people who did not somehow feel broken during COVID. During COVID, I learned to accept my brokenness. Maybe I was only semi-broken, but I knew I was not alone. My faith and identity was not based on my job, possessions, or status. It was founded in my personal relationships and with the person of Jesus Christ, who encouraged me and strengthened me. Fortunately, I also had great coworkers and supporters from my family church. who helped me through COVID, especially Montserrat and Kathy, who helped me get my internet connected. But did everybody have someone to help them? No, I don't think so. My story represents some of our students' trials. Like me, many second language speakers were frustrated by computers. They are still afraid to break it. They might also feel ashamed and not want to ask for help. Our communities are still grieving. Humanity is broken. We need to choose love for each other, ourselves, and God, the perfect love. Then we won't feel so broken.
So if, as it says on the screen, you can find her story script in the handout. And right now I want to do a little brainstorm on, the benefits of participatory multimedia narratives, which call out in the chat if you want to, which of these benefits you're kind of seeing in the couple of stories that you saw so far. Like why do we promote digital storytelling in adult ed? These are the reasons. Are there any of these benefits that you saw displayed in the stories that you watched so far? Anna, if you want to unmute, if there's anything coming in the chat that I need to hear.
Yes, we have some comments, so let me read them. From before, we have storytelling creates perspectives that could inspire different movements. It is so important to document our stories, especially for immigrants. Future generations want to know their heritage, and too often that's lost. Great practice for English learners. For a strong focus on comprehensivity. Christy Reyes say bravo for Mireja's story. Heidi Scholler say what a powerful story and message to share, Mireya. Thank you. Collective healing, 100%. Equity and access, representation, knowledge, capacity building, collective healing, equity and access, all of them. But really all digital storytelling honors adults with andragogical principles.
Yes.
Sorry,
Ooh, that's
the
a word.
pronunciation. And sharing experiences and the wisdom gained. We have a lot of comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we probably, the more you chat, probably the more I won't be able to ask Anna to read every single one out, but keep it coming. I'm hoping that the chat gets recorded somehow and I can see it later. So with digital storytelling, you need to choose a story and brainstorm ideas. Again, this is a thing that happens in a collective, in a classroom or a small group, maybe a leadership group. You work out the structure of your story, figure out what pictures you want to put in there, and write the script and collect the media. We will not be able to do that today. I will say that a digital storytelling production workshop usually takes at least 3 or 4 full days. Sometimes we spread it out, but we try to do it boot camp style. But you can use the pieces of digital storytelling process that we're providing for you in the handouts and on the website. And of course, you can email us anytime. But we are going to try a tiny little bit of digital storytelling. Keep in mind that when you're preparing to craft a digital story, that it's your voice. You need to keep it brief. You need to keep your audience in mind. Think about the andragogical principles there, right? Is critical thinking and crafting messages and focusing on who your audience is. Emotional connection isn't always exactly, relevant in certain classroom contexts, but if you do want to make sure that your message is being heard, you want to make sure that you are like thinking of the audience and figuring out what your point is that you want to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer in a minute, and I'm going to give you, let me see if we're on time. We are on time. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but I want you to take this structure, strong opening line, a sentence or two about what happened, a sentence or two about why it's important, and some kind of strong closing line. This is how we do digital storytelling. We give people the structure and then they craft their scripts. I want you, each of you, to pick one of these 4 prompts. Okay, I did say 5 minutes. I'm going to give you 5 minutes. How about that? And what you're going to do is, turn on, I'm going to mute myself, or maybe I'll even try to put on some music. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to write a little bit, and then we'll share a little bit in the chat. Okay, so happy writing. I'm going to give you guys just another minute or two, okay? So start wrapping it up. Okay. Hopefully you were able to write at least a start, maybe a couple ideas, a little bit of a response to one of these prompts. The prompts are really important in digital storytelling, and you can play around with whatever prompts you want. There's lots of examples out there in the materials that I gave you and otherwise, but yeah, hopefully somebody was and people were inspired by one of these quotes to do a little bit of writing. And now I'm going to attempt in this webinar presentation to give you just a little taste of another really crucial part of digital storytelling, and that is the collective editing and peer coaching that happens. And when you get students to like think of what messages they want to share, what stories they want to tell, and then they start sharing them with other people, and the other people in the room are asking them questions, they're giving feedback, and that is another really powerful, andragogical tool. It's college and career readiness, it's 21st century skills, being able to communicate and think critically and give the right kind of feedback so it will be heard and that you're not stepping on somebody's feelings when you give them that feedback. And so in your packet, you can see on page, it goes right with this. I think it's page 4. Yeah. So page 4 of your packet, and actually it's to page 5 now. What's the story about? What's the main message? What was memorable? How does a story make you feel? Those are the kind of questions that we need to answer in a story circle. We can't do a story circle right now, but I would love it if in the chat, if you feel like sharing a particular sentence, just one phrase that you wrote down during the timed writing that you think you were really happy that you wrote it down. And it might even help you think about future development of this story. It could be the opener line that you're really pleased with because you think it might hook the audience into actually wanting to hear your story. It could be just the main message of like the answer to those questions that I put up there. What was that time that you realized you were a leader? You don't have to tell the whole story. Just, when I was in the kitchen one day at work and somebody needed my help. Whatever it is, and I know Anna's keeping an eye on the chat.
Yes,
And
we have some comments here.
awesome. I want to
Oh.
hear at least a couple few of them, and then I'm probably going to have to move on. But yes, please do share.
Yes, overcoming depression and dealing with a tragic loss. Oh, that one hurts. All of them.
That is speaking to me about, overcoming barriers and resilience, right? Resilience has been a really important topic in digital storytelling these days. People are really needing to share their stories of how they have gotten through hard times. And it's so powerful for everybody. Um, so the question as you start to develop your stories is like, how do you fine tune your story, make it like succinct and clear enough and really brief enough so that you don't end up telling your whole life story. You have to pick that one moment. And so in the examples that Anna just read out, I would be asking questions like, when was the moment when you felt like, okay, I really did it. I have overcome this issue. Or what was the most difficult moment of dealing with the loss? And how did you get through it? And what did you learn from it? Those kinds of questions. Digital storytelling can be very therapeutic, but it's not therapy. it really is rooted in people, developing skills. For us in adult ed anyways, it's about, using our stories as content, as context, as relevant themes for our lives. And once we care about that issue enough to like share it with others, then, doing the reading and the writing and the speaking and telling people your story and having the courage to do so is it's monumental. It's really empowering. So when we do digital storytelling and sensitive topics come up, we always try to focus on the message that they want to communicate to everybody, not just the sharing of the emotions. And we also, just so you know, if a person wants to tell a story about a traumatic event that is kind of still pretty current and maybe even difficult, and they can't talk about it without crying, we very much gently encourage them to save that story for a little bit later when they're not still experiencing the trauma of it. And they're going to feel that much more powerful after some time to reflect and process. It's going to be a better digital storytelling experience if you do that. So, anything else, Anna, that you wanted to shout out from the chat?
We're good for now.
Okay, good.
Thank you for the message in this chat.
Yeah, thank you all. All right. So, how are we doing on time? Perfect. All right. So, once and you have stories to share and you've produced them, or you are a teacher or student in a classroom where some issues are coming up, or you just need some kind of like catalyst, some kind of springboard for people to do their own writing and reflecting and sharing and peer coaching and all of that good stuff that it goes with teaching adults. It's really incredible to even just show digital stories. We show digital stories in orientations and language classrooms and GED classrooms. We have digital stories about math. We have digital stories about immigration and health issues and work issues. The world of work that we are all exploring these days. Talk about a wild ride, right? And so, workforce issues come up in these digital storytelling sessions. And even if you're not doing a full-on digital storytelling production workshop, you can, use digital stories as content, as material to get your own students reading, writing, reflecting, peer coaching, asking good questions, giving feedback, critical thinking, constructive criticism. You watch a story. Every time I watch my own digital story, oh my gosh, the critical, constructive criticism of my own towards myself comes up every time. That is a good thing, to be critically reflective on yourself and think about, okay, how could I have better communicated that message? So language skills, issues come up, and then, you can kind of analyze a problem or issue in the community and do some research. A digital story can prompt that. Watching digital stories with your students, you can get them like comparing and contrasting the messages. Well, what was different? Why do you think that person chose those images? Those are the kind of questions. Um, are there, if you have any other ideas of how you think you might use a digital story in your classroom or in your leadership group or in your training room, if you're like an administrator or teacher trainer, if you're a leadership development person in your program, how could you imagine using a digital story? If you have any ideas, put them in the chat and Anna will shout them out.
We have some say public service announcements, commercial. Advice to incoming students for beginning literacy. Just my favorites or autobiography.
Nice, nice. I love that. Yeah, using digital stories for all of those reasons. We have actually, we'll talk a little more about promoting, publishing, just basically amplifying somebody's voice in some way. If you get all the way to a digital story production, awesome. But even if people are just responding to very open-ended prompts and the teachers and their fellow students are hearing them and figuring out, oh, yeah, that's a really important issue in our community.
We have
Go ahead.
discovering community resources.
Yes, exactly. And a digital story sometimes has the community resources, but for example, Mireya's story really spoke to me about how important community resources are and that people have access to whatever assistance or resources they need. And I really like that somebody said something about students hearing each other's voices. It really helps them with advice or whatever. It's relating, knowing that you're not alone. There's a lot of other adult learners out there, trying to navigate, getting into classes or getting new jobs or whatever they are.
Yes, we have one more comment.
Okay.
Create a digital story to incorporate on their LinkedIn profile to aid in job searching.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I haven't even done that yet,
Yeah,
but now I want to.
I have an idea.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, some of you may know, if anybody in the room knows me, they know that I did work for 28 years in adult ed and I'm now a freelancer. And sometimes I probably feel like I could do a better job of promoting myself. But thank you. Thank you for that idea. I love that. And
we have a question here. Has anyone published a student story itself where?
and what? In software?
In where it was published?
Oh, in the materials that you have in your Whova app that go with this presentation, the PowerPoint is in there with all these links to the movies we've been watching. And there's a link to a YouTube channel where adult ed student stories are featured online on YouTube. So yes, we have published them big time, lots and lots. In fact, that kind of goes with the next thing. I want to make sure I have time to, I think we can watch this story. Matias made a digital story before going with us to present. I'm pretty sure it was a COABE conference a long time ago on digital storytelling we presented. And after that, he got engaged by the World Ed, the New England Literacy Resource Center that produces lots of training and materials for adult ed. They got him engaged with the change agent, and they even later on, because he did that digital story and got all this attention in the field of adult ed, they pulled him in for a special session and videotaping of him commenting that as a resource, it was like one of those supplemental resources to go with the change agent. Super cool. Okay, so let's watch his movie.
This is how to get in shape fast.
If you want to drop this, start eating more of these.
Let that ad go by. All right.
To be honest, I used to make fun of people who went to college. You know, friends who got their degrees, but then just kept working the same job because they couldn't find work in their field. I dropped out of high school when I was 17 to get a job. I was living on my own already. I worked hard labor for low pay, and I actually thought that was it for me. But it was hard to move up to any new position because I didn't have a GED. I felt like I was always hitting dead ends. I came home upset and frustrated. And my wife is the one who said, why don't you go back to school? I felt bad for her taking on the responsibility for paying the bills, but I knew that going back to school was going to open up more career opportunities for me. That was the hardest decision I had to make. And to be honest, I didn't want to go. I felt out of place, like a follower, but I stayed, and I'm glad because that's the day I heard about student council and AmeriCorps. I wanted to be more involved in the community, not just take classes, not just come to school. I wanted more of a purpose. So I did it. I started my classes and joined Student Leadership Council. It opened up lots of doors. I'm learning about poverty and economic issues that are going on in our community. They didn't used to stand out to me, but now they do. I think about these issues on a daily basis. As an AmeriCorps service member, I take on many roles. I tutor in a pre-literacy refugee class, which has been a spectacular learning and giving experience. I'm a student success coach and a support to my fellow students by helping them succeed in their goals and being a role model. Experience has inspired me so much. When I finish, I'm going to continue towards a degree in education. I always thought I had to hurry up and get a job. I always felt like I needed more. That meant making more money. It's more than money. Being involved in the community has made me a leader, and I hope to inspire other students to become leaders and go beyond their dreams.
Okay, so Matias. All right. He was a great student to have. And yes, that's an example of an adult ed student who, while in our program, was able to produce a story. Actually, the thing I like about
I
Matias,
grew up moving all over the place. By the time I hit
There's
10th
another-
grade, I'd
there's
lived in
another
10
story
different
coming.
places.
Okay. The stories need to be heard. Um, Yeah, so with Matias, definitely wanted to make a point to say that Matias, he didn't actually make his story in a regular digital storytelling class or workshop. He had missed out on that opportunity. And so it was one of those few occasions where I broke the rule and I worked with him individually, but again, he wasn't alone. He had me to help him craft his script, I took that picture of him. I was like, what kind of picture can we take right now that shows you like trying to consider what your options are and really questioning what you were going to do to illustrate his story? We just went outside and took a picture. Anyway, that's the kind of resourcefulness I was talking about earlier. And I'm just, yeah, super excited about that. You can see in your materials, you can access that YouTube channel. There's the link right there. It's in the PowerPoint for you to take advantage of later. There's lots of other stories in there that need to be heard. The Stories for Change website as well has a lot of our student stories in it. And so, yeah, you are going to have access to a lot of adult ed student stories and others too. Now, I definitely want you to think for one more minute about how you think we can really promote the voices of our students. I will give it up to COABE right now that for some years now, many years now, that's been first a really big priority of COABE is to help find the student leaders and the regular students, not just the student leaders who have powerful stories to share because we know how powerful they are. And so COABE promotes them a lot in different ways. I think if I heard correctly, there was a lot of promotion of student voices during the Students as Leaders Day on Monday. I wasn't able to be there in person. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person this week. I'm glad to be here virtually. It's better than nothing, right? Somebody talked about social media, and I think I don't know how often you all have open house events, but anytime you have a person in power, you know, that you want to know, you want them to know how important adult ed is in the community, use digital stories, share them, or just invite them to your program and have the students speak. These tools that we're providing for digital storytelling can be used in a lot of ways, not just for digital story production. So again, students' voices, students' stories, students' opinions, students' research on issues that are important to them. How do you amplify their voices? Are there any other ideas besides the ones we have laid out here on the screen? Any ideas coming out in the chat? How can we promote, and who needs to hear our students? I'll give you a second. After today, whose voice do you want to amplify and who needs to hear it?
Local politicians.
Local, key word, so accessible.
Yes. And our board of trustees.
Yes. As giving students a chance to not just advocate and push for a particular agenda, a particular issue. If you have people in power that are supporting adult education learners or teachers in any way, have the students be the ones to say thank you and tell them about the impact of adult ed. Yeah.
Yeah, we have another message. School boards, civic groups, chambers of commerce.
Yes, yes,
Pardon.
absolutely. I love it. All right. Again, I do want to acknowledge what a great job COABE is doing, amplifying student voices. And any of you in this webinar, if you haven't already encouraged a student to submit a story or to get involved with COABE, do it. Do it now. There's ambassador training through COABE so that students can learn to be, more effective leaders and advocates for adult ed. But in general, COABE always wants to hear the stories, the success stories, the stories of resilience, the voices of the students. Why is adult ed so important? It doesn't have to just be a success story. It can just be from the words, the voices of the people who are most impacted by adult ed. Those voices are more effective. They just really are. I know if you've ever been in my workshops before, you've probably heard me say another adage. I think I said one earlier: if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. Maybe I didn't say that yet, but that's one of my mantras. But another thing I try to remember and I try to promote is that if we're talking about the importance of adult ed and how our learners are impacted by adult ed and how our communities are impacted, how much better if we have them be doing that speaking? It's kind of like that nothing about us without us. Like, we shouldn't be advocating for adult ed without students. We shouldn't be, reflecting on the importance of adult ed without considering the really important perspectives of our learners. But thank you for sharing those ideas about who needs to hear our students. Finishing just a little bit early, but that way we have a minute. If anybody has any final comments or questions for the chat, you can add those. But these resources that are listed on the screen right now are all in your packet. You've got a lot of materials that you can use to apply some of these techniques and strategies. And there's links to lots of stories that you can use in your classroom. You can share with your friends and family, share them out on social media right now more than ever. We need to make sure that the importance of adult ed is not forgotten. There are a lot of things going on in the world right now, and we're getting torn and pulled in all these different directions, and we're challenged in different ways. But student voices and digital stories are a really good way to keep our eyes on that and make sure we don't forget, and that the people in our communities and our decision makers, our leaders, aren't forgetting about adult ed either.
Okay, there is a couple questions. So I included digital storytelling project in my class when I taught in person, but now my class is hybrid, synchronous and asynchronous online. Do you have any tips or suggestions for how could work online?
Yeah, I want you to think hard about the resourcefulness of a digital storytelling process. It is possible. I have done it. In fact, I'm in the process of helping some students around Arizona produce digital storytelling projects. And, with the help from their teachers, I'm going to say Zoom tutorials, like demonstrations, instead of just sending out the directions of like, here are the steps. Yes, do that. Our students have multiple learning styles, so we have to give them the information in multiple ways. But making sure students have at least a smartphone and access to the internet is key. Video tutorials, like I've made really easy to do. You just turn on your Zoom account and press record and start demonstrating how to get to this website, how to use this technology tool online. Okay, so video tutorials, constant contact, making sure they have some kind of like support at home, maybe even a helper. If it is completely completely virtual, there's no chance of ever meeting up in person, then if you haven't used WeVideo and your program doesn't already have a classroom set of licenses, I highly recommend it, because WeVideo, and it's in the PowerPoint, there's information in there about it. It's collaborative. And so at a distance, if I'm added as a collaborator on somebody's video editing project, I can also edit it, and I can see the work that they're doing, and I can email them or call them and say, hey, here's some advice. That's the hardest part. Writing the script and doing coaching virtually, not a problem, right? But it is kind of hard for somebody to produce a video at home by themselves. But with video tutorials, demonstrations, Zoom tutorials, Zoom troubleshooting sessions, use your technology. Be resourceful with that. And if you want more advice, email me. My email is in the handout and in the Hoova app and everywhere. I am very accessible by email. Reach out to me anytime. Anything else? Okay. I'm going to, okay. So in the PowerPoint that you have access to is a little page about WeVideo. That is our preferred online web-based tool for producing multimedia projects. And you can see that it's only $374 for a whole year of like, oh my gosh, 30 seats. And when you buy a year of 30 seats in WeVideo, as students come and go, you can like swap out those licenses, those seats for new people as they come in. I kind of feel like, I know budgets are super tight, but $374 for a whole year of video editing software that is collaborative and web-based, Yeah, and so as far as collecting the media, if you have a smartphone, you can collect all the media you need, even including your voice recording. Taking pictures, collecting or picking photos from your album. Those are the tech and tools that we use. What else? All right.
No more comments for now.
All right. Well, there's a bonus story in there for you to watch later, Bobby's story from Tucson, Arizona. But that's it. So I'm going to let you go just a couple minutes early. I think that's my gift to you today, besides all these resources and information. Anna, you want to have the final word?
Well, thank you everybody for coming into this webinar. It is always a pleasure to talk about storytelling and adulthood. And as Laura mentioned, encourage the students to join the COEB resources like ambassador training. That is great. I forgot to mention, I'm a student, an adult ed student ambassador, and also I was the SAFE fellow for Arizona in 2024, 2023, 2023. And it's great. Storytelling is a great resource.
And Anna is an amazing graphic designer, by the way, who works for all and other things. She's a freelance designer and she's amazing. So if anybody ever needs graphic design, call on Anna.
I'm here for help. There's one more comment in the chat. Thank you, Christy Regis. She say, congrats on your national presentation, Anna. And thank you for inspiring us to include digital stories, Laura.
Thank you, everyone.